Good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. Unfortunately, we're here after another incident that occurred in our entertainment district downtown in the early morning hours this morning. We're going to make a few comments to y'all, open it up for some questions. I think to begin with, we'd like to give you an overview, a summary of some more of the information we've learned from last night. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Chief Goldsmith.
Good afternoon. August 5th, 2022 at about 1:17 a.m., Norfolk police were called to the 200 block of Plume Street for a report of a shooting. When officers arrived, they found a sheriff's deputy who was working in a part-time capacity and 3 men who were all suffering from non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. The 4 victims were taken to the hospital for treatment and are expected to recover. As a result of the investigation, Norfolk detectives have charged Tyshawn M. Gray, 25 years of age, of Norfolk, with 1 count of aggravated assault of a law enforcement officer, 3 counts of malicious wounding, 4 counts of a use of a firearm, and 1 count of discharging a firearm in public. Where this incident stemmed from was an altercation that occurred inside of the Legacy Club located at 216 East Plume Street. While patrons were exiting the club, the suspect began to fire into the crowd. Norfolk Police Department officers and Norfolk Sheriff's Office deputies were on scene assisting with the crowd control when the shooting occurred.
Okay, and again, you can ask some questions, Chief Goldsmith, for some follow-up after that. With that, I want to turn it to Sheriff Barron. As you heard from Chief Goldsmith, we did have an off-duty sheriff's deputy on scene that was involved, and so I would like Sheriff Barron to provide an update on his status.
Just for clarity, he was on duty at the time, working in an extra duty capacity alongside with Norfolk police officers as part of our efforts to assist with any concerns that the city has. We work in partnership with the Norfolk Police Department. So he was on duty at the time, and it was on scene there with other officers, responding to the disturbance that was in the area when he received a gunshot wound to his leg. He is doing very well. Responded to the hospital and talked to him. His family is doing well. He's in good spirits and was actually telling some jokes, which is good news. And he was treated and released from the hospital and should recover fully.
Thank you. And thanks to Sheriff Barron providing us with additional assistance with NPD in the evenings. Unfortunately, the last time I think I sat here in front of you all was in March, late March, after the incident outside an establishment on Granby Street. And at that point, we talked about several of the initiatives we were doing to try and deter the violence that we were seeing downtown. Among those were an enhanced police presence, which we did have again last night, partnering with the Sheriff's Office, and again, thanks to Sheriff Barron and his staff for stepping up and helping us with that, as well as the portable cameras that we've had on Granby Street. As with many of these other incidents, we saw again last night individuals that are coming down thinking that they will be able to get away with this type of behavior are wrong. We have made arrests in every single one of these high-profile cases. We made an arrest within minutes last night. So we are now at a point where I think it is safe to say that the enhanced police presence, the technology, the cameras, and our efforts to try and curb this behavior are going undeterred by the individuals coming to the downtown area that are bent on creating mayhem and chaos. With that said, I think it's safe to say that every establishment in the entertainment district downtown should begin preparing to come to this council and explain why they should continue to operate downtown. That explanation should include very clearly what benefits you provide to the overall culture, health, and entertainment of our citizens by way of your establishment operating in the downtown district. Make no mistake, operating downtown in Norfolk is a privilege. With that privilege come rights that must be met. And so we are now explaining to everybody today that over the next several months you should begin preparations to explain why you should continue to operate your establishment. Number two, all establishments should understand, as I said in March, and I am saying as bluntly as I possibly can today, you are no longer able to claim immunity for things that occur outside your establishment when we can find evidence that creates no doubt that the genesis of the activity occurred in your establishment. You will be held accountable for those actions. The mayor is currently on his way back to the city. I have spoken with all city council members this morning. We do not have a specified plan of attack, but make no mistake, this latest event is now the end. We have tried cajoling, we have tried asking, we have tried incentivizing, we have tried begging. Those days are now over, and the repercussions will now begin. I'm happy to take any questions you all may have.
So what are the repercussions for this business owner at Legacy Lounge?
Again, so we have businesses downtown that have conditional use permits that provide above and beyond by right operations. All of those conditional use permits will be evaluated.
What role did the business play in this shooting, if any role at all?
I believe, as Chief Goldsmith mentioned, Chief, if you would like to.
So the genesis of this event was an altercation that took place within the business. I'm not going to say too much more about it because we are still, this is still very much an active investigation. Our job is to investigate this fully and bring a case to the Commonwealth's attorney that has a strong chance being prosecuted. So I'm not going to comment any further other than this started in the place of business. We are continuing to investigate exactly what happened so that we can bring that best possible case to the Commonwealth's attorney.
Does the owner know about this altercation? Did the owner try to die down or kill whatever incident was happening inside the business?
We are continuing to investigate all pathways here in this particular investigation.
And to clarify what you were saying, Mr. President, is that you are now going to review his cup and see if it should be taken away?
No, I think my comments today are very clear. Every establishment in this entertainment district will be evaluated. Every single one of them.
Starting when?
Starting immediately.
And how does this process work for business owners like watching?
Yeah, so this is a legal process, right? I mean, a conditional use permit is a right by an establishment to operate in a certain manner. There are, as with most of our conditional use permits, a lot of conditions, right? There are requirements that must be met. And I think my comments were pretty clear that along with the privilege of operating downtown comes requirements. We will begin an evaluation of every single establishment, even those that are operating by right and are potentially not operating in a manner we find sufficient by right. We will begin an investigation of all of these establishments. It is not about going after everybody. It is not about shutting down everybody. It is about folks providing a very clear path for how they plan to be good corporate citizens to enhance the vibrancy, energy, and activity that's happening in our downtown district. So it's really now incumbent upon every establishment to come before the council as a body and explain why they believe they should have the opportunity to do business on Granby Street.
Is Legacy the first one on the list, considering this is the latest incident?
No, there is a list of multiple establishments. Again, everybody is being put on notice. My remarks are not with respect to any particular establishment. This is going to take place with every single establishment, from coffee shops to clubs to restaurants to lounges. Everyone is going to have to explain why they should have the opportunity and the right and privilege to operate downtown.
Didn't the city do this after the shooting outside Grace O'Malley's? So what is different?
Well, so we started the process of conditional use permit review after the events in March. Not after the one at Grayson O'Malley's, but after the tragic events in March. Outside of Chicho's, correct. And that process resulted in a number of violations, a number of corrections. It did result, I think, successfully in creating a new environment downtown. But it is clear that the individuals that are creating the mayhem and chaos are undeterred by any of these additional actions. And so we are going to have to go a step further in this by looking at everything and anything that's involved in a restaurant, club, lounge, coffee shop, wine shop, everybody's operation.
Well, in regards to the last night shooting, you had said that that they had security there, and one of them was an off-duty sheriff's?
On-duty
I'm sorry.
sheriff's deputy who was working side by side with Norfolk police officers, which is something we started, I believe, back in May, to be a force multiplier with police officers working downtown to try to enhance any security efforts that the police department was trying to bring to bear to address any safety concerns.
My question is then, if he was down there, did he have a weapon on him, and did he return fire?
My deputy was in full uniform. No shots were fired back at the suspect. The deputy was not alone. The deputy was there. There was a large crowd of people who had been pushed out of the establishment onto Plume Street. There were numerous police officers there along with my deputy. They were addressing the disorder at that time when the shots were fired into the crowd where 4 people were hit, one being my deputy.
So the only shots that were fired were from the person that got arrested?
Correct.
I believe that's correct.
What about those, and I guess this probably goes into businesses, I mean, this person walked into Legacy with a firearm.
No, the investigation is ongoing. I don't believe at this point we can.
We are not going to confirm anything out of the investigation. As I stated before, our job is to get a case to the Commonwealth's attorney that has a high probability of success. Therefore, we are not going to talk about investigative details that may jeopardize that investigation.
So aside from businesses, I mean, how are you guys monitoring any incidents on the streets? Is there anything else that you guys think you can do? I mean, you said you've done a lot so far, but is there any other step that you guys can go to try and calm and swell down the frequent issues we're seeing here down?
So it's a great question, and I think when I was here in front of you all in March, outside was a problem. We were having issues in the right-of-way. We were having issues of overcrowding, lines spilling into the streets, loitering. It was tough, and we have corrected all of that. I think it is safe to say that the majority of what we are seeing now has a genesis inside an establishment. It spills eventually into the right-of-way, but a lot of these other issues that we've had for the past couple years with issues in the right-of-way, I believe we have done a great job correcting that. And a lot of the establishments should get credit for that. I mean, the establishments that we have asked to lean in with us on this and, provide very obvious queuing lines and prevent overcrowding and move people along if they're loitering in front of your establishment, the majority of the establishments have leaned in and helped us with that. Now what we are seeing are the incidents have a genesis in the establishment and spill into the public right-of-way.
So we're focusing on businesses, but we spoke to somebody this morning about she was just trying to enjoy her Thursday night out, and yet this is happening. What do you tell people that are coming to this area trying to enjoy themselves downtown about this violence?
Yeah, I think there is a very clear time frame at which we're seeing this, and that's not to diminish what is happening, right? Our downtown is as safe now as it's ever been. After 12 o'clock, we are struggling to try and contain behaviors that are getting a bit out of control. And I could sit here and pontificate all day long on, is it over serving? Is it overcrowding? What we're going to get to the bottom of all this. But I think the point that I am making today and council has made and will make when they come back from the recess, is the obligation no longer is on us to say you're doing something wrong. The obligation from this point forward, beginning today, is on establishments to tell us why they believe they have the right to do business downtown.
Can you name, and I know you said you're still working to talk with the mayor and city council to get specifics on this, but can you name what are some of those key requirements that you are going to be looking at when you're determining whether or not a business should continue to operate, should pull back temporarily, and rework some things out, just to give these people some idea of what they're looking at?
Well, I think the easiest place to start for every business owner is to look at every single condition in your conditional use permit. Every single one of them, right? And most of those conditional use permits, if you haven't seen them, contain far more than 2 or 3 conditions. There are a lot of conditions in there. I think the easiest place to start is to look at that and ask a very real question: do I feel confident that on Friday, Saturday nights, I'm adhering to everything that's on this in this document? And if you can't answer yes with a straight face, I would strongly urge you to pivot and figure out how you can answer yes.
And do police believe that the person that you guys have detained is the only person involved that you guys will press charges on, or are you still looking for other information?
We have, in fact, arrested and taken out warrants, as I stated before, on the individual who was involved with this. As far as I know, we are not looking for any other suspects.
Can you possibly spell his name real quick?
Certainly. It's Tyshawn, Tyshawn, middle initial M, last name Gray, Gray.
Age?
25, age.
25 years old, I'm sorry.
Will there be any direct impact to the conditional use permit for Legacy as we reopen this?
So the conditional use permit is a legal document. So as it's written, the conditional use permit is what it is. That does not mean the council does not reserve the right to make adjustments to the conditional use permit or revoke the conditional use permit entirely.
So, okay, you're requiring then all the establishments to at some point stop in, check in with the city and explain themselves about why they should keep their cup? I mean, that's now a requirement, otherwise what would happen if they do not do this?
Well, I anticipate we will get 100% compliance on that request. The question then simply becomes, is council and the mayor comfortable with what the answer is? Right now, we have a less than 1 mile strip of street in the middle of this city that has seen more issues than any other spot in the city. I think it's safe to say that council has told me very clearly that is unacceptable. And whether it is a situation with the business models, whether it's a situation with the operating hours, whether it's a situation with over-serving, over-capacity, if it's any of those things, I suspect that we will take a look at all of it.
Did the suspect work at the establishment? Do we know his connection to Legacy, and was he in fact inside before? Did an altercation start inside and then carry on outside, and then the shooting happened?
So the altercation started inside, we know that much, and then it continued outside. The exact dynamics we're not at liberty to talk about right now. I do not know if he had any relationship with Legacy other than being a patron that night.
Are there going to be, or are you considering adding more officers to patrol around the area over the next couple of days or the weekend?
So we have,
There's a ton of officers.
yeah, last night we had 14 officers on Granby Street working in an extra duty capacity on what we call an extra duty detail down there. So we feel like that's enough officers, and we do have spots for more, but as Dr. Fowler said, that's a relatively small block of streets to have 14 officers in. We do not think that this is, at this point, a law enforcement problem. This is a regulatory issue that needs to be taken up with the businesses on what's happening inside their doors that may spill out into the street.
Because if you recall, at the time of the incident, there were officers on scene. visible, in uniform, you know, it's dealing with the disorder that was there at the time when the person chose to shoot into the crowd. So the officers were there. You know, adding more, I don't think is the answer.
I think the frustrating part that we, I mean, it's the point we're at now, right? I mean, it's frustrating. We don't know what more to do. It is obvious that our enhanced efforts are not deterring the behavior. And so we are going to have to go a step further. I mean, to have 14 officers, all of these cameras, many of these private businesses have installed surveillance cameras. Most of these private establishments have their own security details. To have all of these resources for a window from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock in a less than 1 mile strip of dirt in this city is not acceptable. We cannot allocate that many resources to this area. And so we are going to have to get more aggressive in other capacities.
Do you have any reason to believe that the deputy was targeted by the suspect?
No.
Just in the line of fire?
He was just out there with all the other police officers doing his job.
Last question. Did the cameras catch anything?
So
We
our-
have yeah, go ahead.
So the cameras that we've had installed on Granby Street, the mobile ones, did not catch anything, but other cameras that were in the area that we have access to did.
Like on businesses, surveillance cameras? you mean?
Other cameras that we have access to in that area captured his video.
Did that help in his getting his arrest? Did that help in the
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it will certainly help with evidence, right? But as Sheriff Barron said, and I think is really important in this situation, because I think it harkens back to, you know, could we add more police? There were police officers in uniform before this individual began shooting. They were there on scene because of the altercation. So, you know, certainly the camera technology and the surveillance cameras that we have on Plume Street will help in the case, but I think it's safe to say we have lost any sense that these things are deterring the type of crime we're seeing.
Do you think the officers prevented something worse happening?
I'm sorry, I did not hear your
Can you
question.
speak to just the officer's presence preventing something worse happening? Do you think it could have been a much more,
I,
Absolutely.
I would say yes. I think the officers being present absolutely prevented something worse from happening. The officers responded quickly after the suspect shot, and they ran down towards where the suspects were, used great restraint, and was able to take the suspect into custody. So.
What's the condition of the other 3 men?
There were non-life-threatening injuries. I don't have a full condition
Were they
report,
out
but
of the hospital?
that I do not know.
Yeah, we don't know.
The age of the deputy, can we say, or say?
30.
He's 30. How long has he been on the force?
I don't have that. Jamie, do you know? No.
I can
But
get it. We'll follow up.
Jamie, my PIO, she can get that for you.
You said that there's a pattern with these types of crimes happening in a certain window of time, like late night, early morning. So should we be encouraging people not to be out and about at a certain time? Do you think that there needs to be something just like a curfew set in place, temporary curfew set in place to try to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, so I think we're going to take a proportional, measured approach to what's going on, right? I mean, this is not happening every night. This is not happening at all hours. We clearly have data to suggest that this does tend to occur late at night as the establishments are emptying and altercations are beginning. I think the difference between me sitting here in March and sitting here today is more and more of the evidence is showing that the genesis of these things is occurring in an establishment. And therefore, I think we have every right to start to hold these establishments accountable. I would urge everybody to come downtown and enjoy themselves. Right? I mean, there is a large number of establishments in this stretch. And not all of them we are seeing these types of incidents. I do believe, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school, council is going to start asking some hard questions about places being open till 2 and whether or not that is something that we think we would like to see on Granby. My point to that is simply, as I said, that is where an establishment that would like to have that operating hour, now the onus is really on that establishment to explain to us why they believe their business model is a great one. It will help with vibrancy, it will help with entertainment, and they should have the right and privilege to be open till 2.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.